Yeah, so IFC4.3 is the brand new IFC schema. It's not an official ISO standard yet, but should be in the next week.
Oh, wait. Hello, friends. Welcome back to BIMvoice. Today, we have the chance to talk again to Lejla Seserbekovic? No.
Seserbekovic. Yeah.
Lejla Seserbekovic from BIM Me Up. It's been a while since the last time when we had like three-way interview, should we call it maybe, with Dion. What have you been doing lately?
First of all, thanks for having me. Great to have a chat with you again. Yeah, what have I been doing lately? So as you might have noticed if you're following my YouTube channel, I didn't do too many videos lately because somehow I'm struggling with my schedule, and the YouTube and blogs and so on are the first thing that somehow fall off the table. And we talked about it before we started this recording. Actually, it's a shame we shouldn't do that because it's something I really like doing, I enjoy doing, but somehow the time flies, and when you have a lot of things to do, then somehow it's the first thing you say, okay, maybe next week, and then the next week turns into next month and so on.
Yeah, especially when you want to make it perfect, you just need to press record more often.
How do you do things without making them perfect? It's difficult.
Yeah, I know.
There have been so many new developments also around IFC4.3 in Revit and Civil. So I was also busy with getting a little bit familiar with Civil in order to be able to understand the IFC export and the whole IFC4.3, the topics, which is super exciting and interesting. But for an architect as me, it's, Civil still scares me. I'm a Revit user, and Civil is just...
Yeah. But very briefly, you said that you are an architect. For who did not hear about you before, can you say a few words about yourself and what you do today?
Yeah, so I studied architecture in Vienna, and I also worked for almost 10 years as an architect. I really loved my job, but I was always the person who loved to play around with software, find out new things about visualization, Photoshop, every software workflow there was. And then I got into the project management and site provision, and there was less and less software to play around with. So I looked for something new for the new topics, and I found the BIM itself back in 2010, I think, or a little bit earlier. And then I started researching about BIM. That's where I started the blog, the BIM app. I just shared, some basic infos and what I learned about BIM and why I think it is the future, and also about Revit. So Revit was the software which I used for my work. That's why basically I started off with Revit and Revit tips. And then I moved to a construction company where I was a Revit and BIM specialist. And there I got a lot of IFC questions because we were not only using Revit, but also a lot of other software. I was basically responsible for answering every question about Revit and IFC. And it was a hard time, but I learned a lot. And after 3 years there, I moved to the Autodesk. And at Autodesk, I'm basically a BIM specialist presenting various software workflows around Revit and other products from Autodesk. And the IFC and openBIM somehow became my main topic because I was just already working with it. And as I joined the Autodesk, I just said, hey guys, nobody gets it. Why don't we make a Revit IFC manual? And that's how it all started. And they said, sure, do it. Find someone to do it. And then I started with some other IFC specialists who also contributed some parts of the IFC manual. And then we also have a second version of the Revit IFC manual now. And what I'm actually doing now is I'm trying to port everything to an online version, because the Revit IFC manual is now a PDF document in 10 different languages, and it's super difficult to update it. Our goal is now to move it to the web, to make it a living document, and to have it available online for everyone, and to be able to update it as soon as we have some new stuff, because there's been a lot of new stuff happening around Revit and IFC, and now also with Civil and IFC and so on.
That's a good initiative. This stuff should be online and easy accessible. I think that would help a lot of people to become more confident in trying to export to IFC. So yeah, you do that. When did you start your YouTube channel?
My YouTube channel, I started it, I think 2 years ago during COVID. I was bored. No, it was, I'm blogging since a long time, and somehow I thought, come on, I'm really struggling in front of the camera. So the lockdowns and the online meetings and so on made me realize that I really don't feel comfortable in front of the camera. And in addition, I also kept getting the same questions over and over again. And even if I said, hey, I wrote this blog post, you find it on this page in the IFC manual, I noticed that people are somehow not really reading. And the colleague told me, look, the new generations nowadays, they are not used to read too much. You know, if you have a long blog post, they won't read it. Do videos, and come on, why? And that's why I started. And I thought, okay, let's create some basic videos about IFC where I just explain what I'm explaining every day or almost every day in a kind of a fun way or in an easy way. Because I think, you know, there are topics which are often explained in a too complicated and scientific way. Because you as a user, you don't need to know too much about the IFC schema and what's happening in the background, you know?
That's the main issue, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it took me around 3 or 4 months and 4 takes or something like that before I was able to release the first video, because I never found it was good enough. So if you are wondering why I'm not creating more videos, it's because it really takes me quite a long time. But as we discussed also before, my goal is to do a little bit more and maybe to be less of a perfectionist, but just, you know, we are all humans. We do mistakes. Sometimes we don't say everything in a perfect way, or, you know, but I don't think that's what really matters.
You are right. You should focus on the simple underlying principle here, which is conveying information. That is the most important. I think that is the thing that most of the people following your channels, blog or YouTube channel, would appreciate. So don't let this small, I don't know, issues, not believing that the product is ready to go out, just press record, you know. Remember this. I used to go through the same self-doubts as well. It took me, you know, I think first time I was thinking to launch a podcast about BIM, it was around 2015, and I launched it in 2020. So I know how it is, and it took me more than 200 videos to get comfortable doing them, but you don't get better unless you repeat, you know. Just press record and ship out things. People will appreciate the information you deliver. That's the most important.
And, you know, also what we talked before, I think it's really when you start to edit your own videos, then you see yourself, and it's not always comfortable. So I'm really not comfortable with watching my own footage and listening to my own voice. So maybe it's really good to have someone else to edit your video.
My voice is the worst. Yes, and like I said, like I told you, I'm trying to get some help, trying to find a video editor, but not because of this right now, but just to have more time to make more material, you know. But that's also good to focus on, because like 9 people out of 10 will say that they hate their voice when they listen to it to a recording, you know. But it's human nature. We just need to not let that stop us from conveying, from putting out information, because there are people who appreciate it actually. I get messages, and I'm very, very happy. Like if I help one person with what I do, I'm happy. If it happens to be more, I'm even happier. And I think that's the most important part. And proof for that is these platforms are growing. Like more people are using these materials, right? So why not do it more? Do it. But regarding the your blog, is just a blog, or do you have also a newsletter which is published as a blog?
No, actually, I only have the blog, and I've been disregarding it a little bit since I'm with the Autodesk, because at Autodesk we also have our blog, the BIM blog in German, where me and our team are regularly sharing a blog post. So I don't really get a lot of chances, to post on the BIM app blog. But I'm actually planning, maybe to go back to the English. I did blog in English in between. I started in German, then I did a little bit of in English, then I started again, switched to German. And I thought, by switching to English, maybe it will be more accessible for everyone and simply easier. I mean, nowadays, it doesn't matter in which language you blog, right? Because every web browser can translate it anyway, and it's getting really good. I sometimes get feedback for the blog articles from the BIM blog from the Autodesk, which is in German, from people from all over the world who say, hey, great blog article, even if it's in German. So I think the language, that's really a great thing, that the language is getting kind of,
It's not a barrier anymore, especially with all these artificial intelligence tools coming up and competing with each other. But I still think it would have a wider reach if you would go for English as main language. It will be more appealing to a larger group of people, I would say.
Yeah.
You don't have subscribers there on the newsletter, in the newsletter.
I have followers. So I have a WordPress blog, and I have followers who get notifications. Honestly, I don't know. I will check and let you know.
It's okay.
I know on YouTube I have almost 3,000, and I don't know. But you have a newsletter, right?
I just launched it. I have 23 lucky subscribers.
I think 24 because I just...
Oh, you just signed up. Okay, thank you very much. High five. Now let's talk a bit about BIM. I would like to have another episode where we can talk more about the content creation part. When both of us get a bit more consistent with this, it would be nicer. And now, but before that, you said something interesting, that people are more willing to watch than read tutorials and guides. That's interesting. And I'm telling you something, I completely agree. Like, I love watching, like, if I want to go through a course, I will not do it through a book or a PDF or something. Like, it's good to have, like, it's much more enjoying going through the video and much more appealing, right? At the same time, if I have something that is very deep, that very strict, like and very complex, I prefer to see it as a text. That's true that it's much easier to consume the video content, and that's why all these video platforms have exploded. And yeah, it makes sense. But it's a bit interesting that also for our industry, or niche, if you can call it like that, it's interesting because like, if I do a course, it's okay, but if I want to follow some steps, like I said, I always end up actually trying to compile like a summary of those steps into not a document, but in a tool, and to follow step by step. Watching videos, it's much more enjoying. And sometimes when you do courses, you might just watch the entire course, not doing anything, just like a movie, and then trying to do it, maybe taking some notes and so on. Yes, BIM now. You said something about IFC4.3. What is IFC4.3? What's happening here? Why is important?
Yeah, so IFC4.3 is the brand new IFC schema. It's not an official ISO standard yet, but should be in the next week.
Oh, wait. You said something really important now. I'm not aware about that. Do you know this from good sources? Like, is this really true? Is this something official, or?
Never trust me when I talk about the future. I heard it from some people who are engaged in the Building Smart circles. And actually, if you look at the Building Smart website, where you can see all the IFC schemas, you can see what's the current status. And IFC4.3 has been in that under ISO voting for a while now. And actually, it was, I think, scheduled to be released as an ISO standard last year, but now it should be soon. Let's say it should be soon, because the Building Smart is also already working on IFC4.4, so they are already moving further with the development. And basically, the great thing about IFC4.3 is that it has now classes for the infrastructure. So you have the classes for the bridge, the tunnel, not.
That's why I'm waiting for 4.4. This is the drama of my life. Now I need 4.4 to use it on my project.
Yeah, but I think it's quite exciting. And I did also a video about, what's 4.3. And for me, it was also interesting because I'm an architect, and I thought, okay, it's now just about the classes. That's quite easy to comprehend. Okay, railroad, they do need their own classes, but it's also about the IFC alignment, because in buildings we work with the XYZ coordinates. If you plan a road or a tunnel, you have that IFC alignment or the alignment line in every software you're working. And everything is referenced to the alignment, and that makes sense because those structures are often very large, much longer than a building is high. So that's really quite exciting to see how that will be also implemented.
Even if I need 4.4 for tunnels, but still this new concept, this new everything that is directed towards infrastructure, it would be very helpful, of course. But there is also another aspect here, which is it's one thing for this to become an official standard, and it's another thing to actually see this implemented on projects by clients in requirements and by the software providers, right? So I think it will still be some time until we will get to see this wider used. If I'm not mistaken, Revit supports already this, even if it's not official. The latest version of Revit supports this, right?
Yeah, it supports. So already Revit 2023 with the latest IFC update supports experimental IFC 4.3, which means it can also export and read IFC 4.3 files if you link them. Yeah. So I had already a couple of discussions where people tried to open IFC 4.3 files inside of Revit, and that didn't work. It's because we work now on the link feature, and you can link them, reference them, but you can't open them. So that's also important to keep in mind. What you said before, it will take a while until it's really being used. It's also still valid for IFC4. So I still have a lot of conversations with Revit users, with people who have issues with IFC2x3, especially around coordinates, because with IFC4, we now have the possibility to export the coordinates in a more flexible way. And when I tell them, please use IFC4, then they say, no, but we need to use IFC2x3. And that's a shame.
Yeah. Actually, this is something that I really hope Building Smart will get done better this time, the certification process. I really hope it will not another debacle like with certification for IFC4, which is, I think this is the main reason why IFC4 is still not used over IFC2x3. There is some push for IFC4, and once we get IFC4.3, this is like, I feel that it's the same feeling with like software like Windows 8 or something like that. There are these debacles in versions that nobody uses, but they are happening. You cannot do anything. I just hope, and I really hope that Windows Vista. There are these versions who nobody uses, but I don't recall who said that, but I think Building Smart has a bit more focus on this, and this is very important to get this certificating process right. Make it easier for everyone to jump on board, because that's why after that it's going to be much easier for everyone to embrace it, right? But it's still good. It's very positive to see that we get this from Revit. I think there is also Quadri software from Trimble, who is also already supporting IFC4.3. This is positive. Just that I hope to execute well on this and to get this popular for everyone. And regarding IFC4, until 4.3, it will become official. But then it's going to be interesting, right? Because you don't have the softwares that's the export, so you still need to stick to 4 or.
So there are also a lot of IFC viewers still struggling with IFC 4.3 now.
like Solibri. Solibri is not officially supporting IFC4. Like, it's not just an IFC viewer. It's a like huge platform, right? Very popular platform.
But I think everyone is waiting until it's really an ISO standard to really start implementing. I hope it won't take too long now once we have the ISO standard stamp on it that everyone will jump on it. And I mean, there is that ODA, the openIFC viewer, which not so many are maybe using because it hasn't been that present, but it's really super fast, and it also supports the latest IFC4.3. So they are really very fast with that.
Yeah, I will try to find out a bit from Building Smart actually what is the plan for this, but I really hope they have a better plan for the implementation of the certification. Like 2 years or how long it takes now, it's not something feasible. It's a big barrier.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree. Maybe one thing to add, the good thing is that when we have a support in Revit, so we have that Revit IFC extension. The same one updates also Navisworks, and the same engine is used also in the cloud. So it means you also have 4.3 support in the latest Navisworks 2024, and also in the Autodesk cloud. So when you upload an IFC 4.3 model, you should be able to see everything.
Yeah, okay, so we cover IFC. What else? What else do you think
else? Nobody wants to talk to me about anything than IFC. You know, it's the issue with my personal brand. Yeah, everyone, no matter. I was at a customer event last week, and I wanted actually to talk about Forma. Nobody was interested.
Please talk about Forma. Indulge me and talk about Forma. Then I will I will allow you to do that.
Now I feel like you're doing me a favor. So hopefully we will have another great IFC session at the Autodesk University. I submitted a proposal with some of my colleagues and IFC Jedis at Autodesk, so we might be able to talk there a little bit more about IFC and the newest development, because there is a lot happening. Yeah, Forma. So Forma was released last week, and we did have a kind of an launch event, which was actually more like a conversation about the role of the AI for architects. I don't know if you have seen it. There is so much. There is so much to watch these days, so many webinars and so on. But today there is also another webinar taking place from the Forma team where really the features will also be presented and so on. And if you would ask me to simply explain Forma, it's basically at the moment in its first version, it's kind of a mix out of SpaceMaker and Format. So if you used the SpaceMaker tool in the past, it's actually meant for project development. So very early design stages where you are trying to figure out in a city or on a building lot how the buildings could look like and how could they be placed and so on. And what also SpaceMaker already offered you was a kind of a series of real-time analysis, which would give you feedback about the sun conditions, noise, and so on. So you were able to assess the project in a very early design stage, and also have a tool to flexibly work with in the cloud. So it's a cloud-based tool. And Format, I don't know if many of you are using Format. So Format has always been kind of a nice product, but not so widely used, because it was a kind of a SketchUp from the Autodesk, but with other features. And obviously, since SketchUp has a huge library and user base, it was also always a little bit disregarded. But now it has been made, or some of its functionalities have been made part of Forma platform. So basically now you can, what you couldn't do in SpaceMaker was sketch the buildings and then change the shape and make it a little bit more creative, and now you can do that with Forma. And the vision of Forma is actually to create that kind of a platform for the whole AC industry to be able to work with the data and not with files, but really with the data, and to access the data flexibly from all the systems and all the software you are using. So I think the vision itself is super exciting, and I think it makes really sense to have a look at it. And one last remark, maybe why it really absolutely makes sense to look at it, is SpaceMaker. If you had a look at it, it is a product that the Autodesk also acquired like 1 or 2 years ago, and it needed to be purchased separately. And Forma is now part of the AC collection. So if you have the AC collection, you have the full access to Forma.
Okay, I see. Yes, that's interesting. So I thought that this is going to be what I try to understand now. How does Revit fit into this? How is this thought to roll out? Like, will Revit be always the partner of Forma, or is like Forma should overtake Revit and it as it does with what was the name of with Formit? With Formit.
Basically, now you start your design in Forma, and then when you reach a certain stage where you say, okay, I need to go to Revit, you can simply send to Revit. That was already possible in SpaceMaker as well. So you simply send your design to Revit at the current state, and then in Revit you start working with the model, changing it, detailing it, and so on.
Okay, so it's not meant to replace it.
The vision, the long-term vision, is that Forma will be able to do everything. So it will be the cloud tool that can do everything. But I think the road is long. When you have a look at what we need inside of Revit, the whole detailing and so on, I think that's really a long way, and it will take a while until we really have everything we need in the cloud. But I think the future actually is that there will be tools in the cloud which we will be able to use, and which will slowly replace all the desktop products we have now. But it's going to be a long time.
The future looks, these are important news. I'm really looking forward to have a look at it. So you say that this is not a separate product anymore. It's included in the Autodesk Cloud collection?
AC collection. It's the AC collection, yeah.
Yeah, it's not the common data environment.
Not the construction cloud. I think you meant the construction cloud. It's the AC collection, which usually everyone has. If you have Revit and the AutoCAD or another product, then it already makes sense to have the whole collection, because then you get
to offset the price. Yeah. Well, I think we'll wrap it up here for now, but we will definitely, if you like and will accept this, I'm really looking forward to have other chats as well in the future.
Absolutely. Let's do this more often. It was a pleasure again, like every time.
Thank you for accepting the invitation and joining me.